Hello, dear listeners. I'm back with some thoughts, and a lot is going on in this last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and we just processing a lot with friends, family, myself. A lot of stuff come up, and a lot of memories come up, a lot of kind of unfinished, undigested thoughts and processes, because everything last few months were on a speed mode. Everything was just unprocessed, so to speak. So just wanted to share a few thoughts, especially that many of you are asking to share what comes up, how I'm dealing, what's going on. One of the main kind of request in our relationship, or not request, maybe more often I would hear from Efraim saying, love it, just flow, or babe, just flow. And it meant so much, it was so much there. And for some reason, I understood from the beginning, in the beginning when we were already seriously dating and we knew where it's all taking us, I knew what that meant. And obviously it wasn't that he came across as a teacher. In many respects he did. He opened up a lot of disciplines and a lot of ideas to me and a lot of insights, unbelievable stuff. But this one thing, for some reason, was extremely insightful for me and very much what I was into. The flow part, and sometimes you would just say easy flow to people, easy flow, those that remember. What it means is that you come into the mode of a certain consciousness where you let go the control. And he would, by saying that, he would remind himself too, because a lot of times he was very much processing in his mind, very much digesting stuff, and trying to analyze stuff, and he himself would need to snap out of it, and go into a flow. And flow doesn't mean you're careless, or you ignorant, or you kind of letting go, or you not interested to put effort in. That's not what it means. It means that there is a flow of life that flows through us. And when we start getting analytical and stuck in our mind, and what's good and what's not good, and how it should be and it shouldn't be, and that's what I should have done and I could have and I didn't, and I blame myself or I blame others, or blah 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 blah, we kind of get in a different rhythm with the flow of life. But life flows through us, and it just comes through us and leaves through us. What it means is, I'll just try to explain in some words what it meant to me and how I felt it and how I felt impacted by it. If you think about it, those stories in your life that you had, that you regret, or you felt you made mistake, or you felt you should have avoided or stepped out, or maybe a relationship earlier and you didn't, or you allowed yourself to be kind of taken advantage of, or you let this go, or you shouldn't have let that go, and blah 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 blah. You just stop and say, heaven and earth were not able to change what flew through me. I analyze it as a mistake, as a neglect, as an abuse, or as a love, or as care, but really it has nothing to do with my analytical conclusion. It has to do with certain patterns that I carry, and those patterns match a certain flow of life that just finds the patterns that a person carries, and it just leaves life through people that are kind of similar to those rhythms. So if there has to be a love story flowing through you, whether you want it or not, and you have in you certain patterns of romantic lover, it will flow through you, specifically at that time, specifically with this person, specifically with certain other components, if they are. And if you have victim and aggressor pattern in you very much alive, very much kicking, so to speak, you will attract certain life flow that is about that, and that energy will flow through you. So when we move to our head and we start analyzing, oh, this person was this and that, and they shouldn't have, and they could have, and blah, 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 it really has nothing to do with that person. If you want to change a certain attraction of life that happens to you, look into the patterns that you carry and why you carry those patterns. And they are patterns that are much lighter, easier, much more pleasant than those that you carry. So a lot of people get a kind of uninterested. Yeah, they're not interested in dealing on their own. They're much rather prefer dealing with certain areas that involves other people's choices in their regards, right? So they just go there and they start blaming or interacting or trying to analyze why this person, why that situation, why I had to lose money, why I had to shut down the business, why I had to like blah blah blah. But really it's all in us. First it kind of gestates in us. First it happens here in our inner world, and then it comes into a certain rhythm with the world. So the world and the universe lives through us, and if we are matched to that specific pattern, then it flows through us. Bottom line, on a conscious level, what can we do? We could firstly listen. What is actually flowing through me right now? And why am I chosen to translate that specific episode or that specific element of life through me? Why am I a carrier of that? And it has nothing to do with you being deserving or not deserving, or you being loving or not loving. It has to do with that you match certain patterns that life wants to live through you. And when you flow, like even in yoga, they say like a flow, right? A certain movements, set of movements, it's called a flow. And it's done extremely gracefully, right? Especially if it's like a specific style where you don't hold the pose or you just interchange poses. It's a certain flow, it's a certain rhythm. And the goal of those disciplines is to be so kind of light that between the movements, between the poses, there's as if no abrupt changes happens. It's not like you stop and you start, right? The idea of those disciplines also in Tai Chi and also in breathing exercises, different set of exercises, and also in yoga, when you change a pose, it's done very gradually and very softly and gracefully. And the softer the move is, the more advanced the yogi or a Tai Chi person are developed. And similarly, it should affect our thoughts. When something doesn't work or something doesn't go the way you want it, how easy are you able to shift into what's going on now? How flexible is your mind? How flexible are you able to shift back to here and now instead of living in the past, regretting the past, or missing the past, or feeling sorry for the past, or being fearful or overwhelmed by a future? So how quick and how graceful and easy and gradual are you able to shift back to here and now? You kind of went off and you catch yourself that you're dwelling too much in something that is not serving you, and you bring your thoughts back. One of the harsh statement in a therapy that I've been doing this last 2 weeks was, again and again, I heard from therapists that past does not exist at all. And of course, our mind wants to glue itself to the past memories, especially good memories, and like just nurture from there, and maybe get saddened by it, or maybe get like overwhelmed and like and get excited even, you know, like, wow, that happened to me, or that flew through me or went through me, and I experienced that and that with this particular person or on my own. And when you hear, and this is so beneficial to hear, that there is no past at all. There is no past. What there is truly is you impacted by that past, and all the present people that are around you right now, and you in a present moment. You in a present moment is definitely different. And you in the present moment carry all those experiences that you had in the past. But that's about all from the past. There's nothing else in the past that you could go back to and get comforted by and get nurtured by. And I think that was really, really an amazing, it was kind of shocking to take in, not just understand, but actually to feel it, what it means. And you translate it, and you let it sit, and you let it kind of comfort you and sit right with you, and allow it to affect you, that thought, that wisdom. And then you see that truly you have only now. There is no future, there is definitely no past, there is no people from the past. Even if you have those people coming back to you now from the past, and you, so to speak, deal with them from the past, they are new people. Today, they change them, even if they didn't have something like outrageously dramatic happen to them, but today's world energies change them and mold them into something completely different, and they are a new person standing right in front of you, and you're dealing with new you and new them and new energetic connection and an energetic kind of blend. It says, I think actually in Gemara, that there is a nice beautiful Gemara that says that a chuppah that happens between two people, it doesn't happen then. Let's say you got married 10 years ago, 6 years ago. As long as you are a couple and as long as you are living together, chuppah reoccurs minute by minute. Why? Because in order to sustain you, since you are changing, the world is changing, your kind of system of your relationship, it's a certain gestalt, it's a certain mechanism that is changing as well, upgrading, evolving, changing, maturing, developing, deepening, etc. So does the chuppah need to change. It needs to be upgraded every minute. But it's just an interesting insight. Another interesting insight that I knew and I practiced, but again, when you at the moment deal with, I'm totally blessed with the therapists that I'm dealing with right now that are helping me. To some of them I say, there's certain things I cannot say to anyone, and I have a need to speak about it, like in regards to what happened to Efraim and what's been happening, etc. And they're right there, they're showing up, and it's and not just they're listening, you know, there's a beauty in therapy is just to be a passive listener, and it's important to just speak to someone who could just hold the space for you. But the insight that I heard in one of the discussions, that the most important thing is to allow all the emotions to show up. And I spoke about it a lot, and it again came up from one of the therapists. you validate every single emotion. There's no such thing that, oh, that emotion will carry you into sadness, or this emotion will carry you into aggression. And we as believers and like a godly human beings, we should be like straight and like hold mature kind of space and blah blah blah. No, every single emotion has its beauty. If you're angry, you need to allow enough space and maturity for that anger to come through you and show up. If you are saddened, if you're depressed, if you are upset, if you are aggravated, if you are missing, if you are lonely and whatnot, right? Every single emotion has to be accepted and has to be welcomed and validated. But there's a difference how people do it. And like one of the insights that I heard, of course, in the past, you like, what does that mean? You validate emotion. Here it is, you're angry. Some episode just occurred in your mind, and you process certain things, right and wrong, or like correct and incorrect, and fair and unfair, and all the stuff. And you start like debating inside, and there's a lot of conflict, and you like really feel you are taken by anger, let's say, right? So what does it mean? Do you start screaming? Do you start throwing plates on people? Like, what is it that you do? Like, how do you process and how do you validate that emotion? And of course, there is more intelligent way to process very low vibration emotions, but they're still important, and they're still resourceful if you know how to do it, so to speak. And a lot of people process through speaking. Like, it's much easier to communicate when you lay out the whole story about the past or the present, and you explain how you were hurt, or you misunderstood or misinterpreted, and how it was difficult, and how it was like impossible, and blah blah blah. And you kind of when you speak, it's as if becomes easier for you. But the analogy that I was given at the therapy was, it's like a sizzling kettle. If, let's say, you're boiling water and the cover is closed and the water is just like making noise, is trying to like bubble and boil. So when you speak about something, you open the kettle, you open the cover, the top, and you let that steam come out. But during the therapy, he said it's important for you to understand that speaking make it easier, but it also makes it faster. It's kind of processes very fast, and there's a lot of unchewed parts that you will go back to. It becomes like a second part to it, and a third part to it, and a 59 part to it. When you speak or even write about it, those emotions get lost. Like, you didn't find the right word, there was not enough support in a listener, you felt uncomfortable sharing further, and like there's certain gaps or certain unswollen or undigested stuff, and you go back and you get so sick of it. Like, eventually, you know, like in a grieving period, like when you grieve about someone, you feel like, and again it's showing up, and like again you give the space, and again you want, or you lost someone, or you got disappointed. Any miniature kind of discomfort is a little mourning, it's a little upset feeling, right? So how do we process? We are used to blabbering away, like speaking about it, especially with people that we rely and we trust. But the best way is to close your eyes, open up your chest, spread your arms like high up or wide, and just say, I'm showing up for this emotion. I'm right here. I'm really here. And you just say, you identify it, you define it, and you say, if it's anger, I'm showing up for you. in honor and respect, and with all I've got, live through me. And you breathe deep in and you breathe out, and you allow it to move through you. If you need to do some movements from yoga or Tai Chi or just general stretching, just like breathing deep, especially if you're in nature, and just don't analyze it. There is no right and wrong. There is no, that's not how you should think. That's not how you should feel. You should not feel about this person like that. They did not mean it. Don't explain, don't apologize, don't blame, don't feel guilty. Just like allow that emotion to move through you. It will show up. You don't need to do anything special. When it shows up, you don't need to stimulate it, you don't need to push the reverse. That's actually what happens from the anti-flow energy, when people like, I want all the emotions to live through me, and therefore I'm just like do all the emotions one by one. That's not necessarily what happens. Emotions show up whether you like it or not. It could be stimulated or triggered by certain music or some picture that you saw, or somebody said something, or you remembered something. They will show up absolutely organically. And your job is to be ready to validate it, create space, and allow it to move through you. And again, those techniques that you were used to before, speaking, walking, the movement is also emotion, right? Emotion is emotion. Emotion, you're moving in the motion, kind of, your feelings. But they are good, but not good enough. If you truly want to uproot all those feelings that are showing up and, like, so to speak, take over your life, and there's nothing you could do. Like, a lot of people say they have this anxiety, shows up absolutely from nowhere, not stimulated by anything. There is no hurricane coming. There is no, president election coming. Nobody died. Nobody got married. Nothing really happens. And anxiety emotions show up, and people really suffer through it, and they don't know what to do with it, And the best is just to be there for it. Just, that's the flow. The flow, it comes through me, the emotion of anxiety, or the emotion of sadness, or the emotion of loneliness, or the emotion of, like, self-pityness. It doesn't matter what it is. It comes to you. Be enough of a broader space for those emotions to just, like, be there as long as they need. Breathe through it. Don't identify with it. Don't try to pin anyone to it or anything to it, and just allow it to flow through you. And it says very clearly that when we are such mechanisms for our emotions, when we are not embarrassed from ourselves feeling certain things, we don't define ourselves immature, undeveloped, not spiritual, not religious, too kind of, what's the word, deprived human beings. No, we know that there is life flowing through us. And emotions is the most amazing, amazing currency, that we either allow it or we don't. And if we allow it fully to come through us, this is our resource. This is our resource for the future success, for money, for comfort, for health, for beauty, for anything you most want and wish. Emotions is that movement. And the reason why we get stuck and stagnated is because we, in our mind, decide this emotions is not, I'm not allowed to live through. It will bring me blah, 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 sadness, or additional anger, or additional kind of not spirituality or something. And we block, right? We shut the door. And we choose which emotions. Oh, happiness is a good emotion, or lovingness is a great emotion. I'll be loving and warm to everyone and kind and considerate, and I will be grateful and thankful and blah, 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 right? So people start monitoring, but life is not monitoring. Life just flows, right? So go back to the beginning of today's discussion. Baby, just flow, baby, flow, flow, baby, right? That's Ephraim's words. I remember, like, at a tough time, I knew exactly what it means. It meant if I let the control, let's say this doctor said, that doctor promised, this medicine is coming, the results are not good, the tests are this, and his only request was, tune into your intuition. Your intuition knows better than all this definitions, ideas, right, wrong, will be, should be, could be, all this stuff. Just allow life to flow through you. And that's so true. You know, we are not in charge of life. We are not in charge who is supposed to die, who is supposed to be born, who is supposed to get married, who is supposed to get divorced, who is supposed to get hit by certain unnecessary dramas in their life. We are responsible how we live through those episodes. We are not responsible what happens to us. We are responsible how we live through it. What happens with us after that volcano passes, after that storm finishes. How did we change? Did we mature? Did we degrade, or did we evolved in our development? What happened to us? That we're responsible for. And that could only happen when you let the control and you put it down. You say there's higher beings controlling life flow, and through who, what should flow. But one thing I'm for sure responsible is too much good going to ruin me, is too much good going to bless me on a personality level, is too much bad going to bitter me, going to make me into this like sad, mad, kind of radical or unhappy human being forever, or it will add some wisdom and flexibility and that easy flow. Like a good yogi would just switch from one move to another without even noticing. That's what's supposed to happen when we are hit by a challenge, and we are kind of become super flexible, and we're able to change that flow into whatever is calling now. Yes, it happened. Yes, it passed through me. Yes, I lived through it. I survived it, so to speak. I made it through. Now what? Who am I showing up as? And that's the important message here, my dears. And tonight is Hanukkah, and it's a holiday of light, and light means clarity, and light means knowing, and light means being able to see clearly and know clearly. You know, I don't like this superficial kind of like approach. Oh, we should only have good blessings, and we should only be blessed with absolute endless light and happiness, and just like blah, 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 blah. It's also being a little bit out of touch with reality. World is a combination of good and bad. And there is always a mixture of good and bad flowing through us. Always. Like, it's not us wishing. It's been established like that, and it's been going on, and it's continuously going on. So if we say the best I could wish, no matter what hits us, we should come out more flexible, more loving, more caring, more easy flow, more capable of shifting and changing and adapting and knowing how to love again, and knowing how to show up again, not being fearful and like go into our cocoons, right? And like be conflicted in a way with a life flow, but know how to come back and show up again. That's the biggest blessing. Not this artificial, only happiness, only light, only goodness, only joy, only gladness, only light, only like it's not in this world. We come to the world of duality, And in this world, there's a mixture of different energies. That's why it's fun here, because it's like a combination of good and bad and all the dramas around it. So happy Hanukkah, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this class. I also have a YouTube channel in English that's just recently been open, and I'm gonna share here below, so you could either share with people my English recordings, and please write your response here if you like it or not. If you have questions, would love to address them. Thanks so much for listening, and thank you so much for being there for me, for my family. I love you all. Bye.